This is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and before I even started growing in Las Vegas, I did a lot of research and did my due diligence. And as a gardener, I want you guys to do your due diligence as well. Now, what is due diligence when it has to do with gardening? Well, that means get yourself educated before you start gardening, at least a little bit, so that you'll have a good starting point. Growing in the desert can be particularly hard to grow in, but you know, with the right tips, you can be ultra successful, as I'm going to actually share with you guys today. So as I was saying, one of my first times when I came out to Vegas to learn how to grow in the desert, I came to this place right here that we're going to see, and I have a video probably about, I don't know, 2-3 years ago when I came out and visited Leslie Doyle, also known as the Tomato Lady. She's been gardening here in the desert successfully for many, many years. So besides just actually showing you all her tomatoes, she has been growing a lot of varieties of different things. I'm going to be able to give you guys a tour of her garden today, show you some of the cool things I learned about, and also she's having a special class today, so you want to be sure to get on her email list if you're not already. If you definitely live in the Las Vegas area, you want to get on her email list above all else to get her emails, to know what's going on, to know what she's doing, and attend one of her classes. Be able to come by her place and see this amazing backyard and even front yard garden. So anyways, next let's go ahead and check out her front yard and see what's growing on. Now we're standing at the front entryways to Leslie's place, and you can see it's right here, and she has many fruit trees and actually a few non-fruiting trees as well. But she has fruit trees such as a Hygeia persimmon, pistachio, I saw almond and a plum, and even a Meyer lemon tree. So that's the first tip I want to give you guys. If you want to grow in the desert, you got to grow what's going to grow well. Don't try to experiment. Don't try to like, oh, I want to grow a, pineapple bush in the desert. Well, that's probably not going to work unless you have a climate-controlled greenhouse or are growing it inside and have some good ample sunlight. So if you follow what Leslie's doing and what she teaches, you will have success. Besides all the fruit trees that she has planted out, she also has vegetables planted in the front yard too. So let's take a look and see what's growing and how she's doing it. Now we're gonna walk into her front yard, and upon entering, you're gonna be greeted by a nice huge tree. It's a Hygeia persimmon tree, and you can see there, it's definitely got some Hygeia persimmons on it. It's not quite as loaded up as my persimmon tree in California, but definitely has some fruit on it, and looks like it's been growing well for many years nonetheless. She has her, front yard just kind of landscaped out. She has a nice curving pathway up to her door here, a walkway. And she has just like a whole nice large raised bed, that basically has some concrete edging. And she's filled this up with two things. Number one, she's filled it up with her own Tomato Lady soil. She has been gardening here in the desert for a long time, and she put together her own soil mix that is basically guaranteed to grow and is going to grow really well for you. The other thing that you see that she's put in her front yard raised bed are the irrigation. So she's using the Netafim irrigation here. And aside from the soil here in Las Vegas, the most important thing is the water. The soil, especially native soil, tends to dry out fairly fast, and plants like a constant source of moisture. So besides investing in your soil, you want to definitely invest in your irrigation and also your water control valves and your timer. And definitely get good ones and don't get the junk at Home Depot necessarily. So aside from that, she also has it filled with many different plants. And she's growing tomatoes a little bit differently than most people would, or conventional gardeners. And check this out, blinded by the light here. And this is the first thing she's using that's a little bit different. She's using this Mylar film. And if you don't live in the desert or in a really hot climate, forget about the Mylar film. This is a specific thing you need to do only in the desert where it is really hot. One of the problems in the desert is that it gets really hot, and just this past week it got to be 114 degrees. But check it out, most of her tomato plants look really well with barely any yellow leaves. And that is because of the reflective mulch and her constant watering. She actually waters 9 times a day, in the morning, afternoon, and the evening, 3 times at each session for 7 minutes each. Besides the constant watering, she's got the reflective mulch, and keeping the soil moist is very important for a reason, because the plants transpire just like I'm perspiring right now, and it will show you just like I'm perspiring right now. You can see the beads on my forehead. the plants also transpire, but they don't actually sweat. What they do is they pull nutrients or pull the water up from the soil through the roots and through, you know, the stems and leaves of the plants, and that keeps them cool because the water underneath the soil is 75 degrees, nice and cool, and especially when helped by this mylar that's keeping the soil moist and also reflecting off the heat and not heating up the soil. And if we just look underneath here, check it out. I mean, this is just a mound of tomatoes. Now, because the weather has been so hot, you know, the tomato plants aren't necessarily setting new flowers, you know, or fruit right now. But what is happening is that before it got too hot, all the tomato plants have set lots of fruit, and now they are in a prime condition for ripening. I mean, check it out. This area is just totally covered with tomatoes that are yet to be ripe. Another thing besides growing tomatoes, and you can see a lot of them here in her front yard. I mean, this is why she's called the tomato lady and not the asparagus lady. She has a few other things growing, and let's see here. So she looks like she's got some squash growing. So she already has gone through one round of squash in Las Vegas, and in many other desert climates you may have a long season. So you could actually get 2 crops of squash. So you could have an early crop, plant them early, and then now you're going to plant new plants just about now, and then they'll produce for the rest of the season. And there are some of the squashes here. Next, let's head along the walkway and see if we could find what else is growing on. Another thing that she's doing that's really nice and that I would encourage everybody to do is actually label your plants. You know, I have a really good memory and usually remember where I plant what things, but with many different varieties, and hopefully you guys are growing heirloom varieties with unique and different names that you haven't heard of and may never heard of again if you don't continue to grow them and save your seeds. She's actually marking her plants, so she's using a very simple EMT electrical conduit, which is fairly inexpensive, and also some aluminum roof flashing with a paint pen from like you know, arts and crafts store. And this one's actually clearly labeled Waltham Butternut. So I'm assuming this is a Waltham Butternut squash, and growing. Looks like she just planted it for the late season, and looks like it's growing really well and even has some fruit on it. Further down the pathway, and this should be a yellow brick road, but it's not. It is another plant. This is actually called a Hannah's Choice melon. So you can see here, once again, this is a later planting, so it hasn't been in for months and months like the tomatoes, but they're just starting to form some nice little melons to eat later in the season. One of the citrus trees that she has growing here are actually more like a bush. This thing is like almost 12 feet tall and just a big mass, not even growing like a tree, is a Meyer lemon. So if you guys want to grow some citrus in the desert, you know, forget about oranges. They're probably not going to do too well here. But this improved Meyer lemon's probably going to do great, as evidenced by her nice, huge bush. And she's got a lot of little unripe lemons. No, those aren't limes. Those are unripe lemons that are going to be ripening later up this year. And I mean, there's literally hundreds on this entire bush. We're right next to Leslie's front door, and even next to her front door, she's growing more food in some nice big redwood barrels. Not quite wine barrels, but pretty close. And she has some Sherilyn melons here that are actually growing out of the container just into the walkway, which looks nice and beautiful. And there's a nice huge melon here. And over on this side, she's got a black olive, and I believe this is a black olive pepper. Never seen such a thing. Looks really cool. It's got nice dark leaves, variegated black and green, and also some nice dark rich black stems. And so this is probably some kind of small, some round black pepper, probably more for ornamental than edible uses. But guess what? All peppers, even if they're sold as ornamental, they're absolutely edible, but there's probably just not enough flesh on it to make it worth it. This is probably the coolest thing in her front yard garden by far. I mean, I've seen tomatoes grow in Vegas, I've seen melons grow in Vegas, but I have never seen this guy growing in Vegas. And actually, I was wondering how it would do, because I want to grow it myself here in Las Vegas. And I would encourage all my viewers that live in the Las Vegas and actually even the desert to now start growing it, because guess why? Because now we know that Leslie's grew it successfully here. I mean, that's how we learn. We try to grow new things. If it works, then just keep on doing it. And more importantly, share that with others. I mean, this is called, well, she has it labeled as Malabar spinach. More correctly, this is called a Malabar spinach. And this is amazing, succulent, edible, leafy green from the tropics. I mean, you could wrap me around it. Ah! But don't tell her I ate it. But this is one amazing vine. This is a tropical, edible, summer, leafy green crop that you can grow even in the tropics or where it's hot in the desert. And by the looks of it, it's doing amazingly. The leaves are actually quite large, not quite as large as some of the ones I've seen in South Florida that grow year-round. But it looks like with proper moisture, this guy's going to do amazing here in Las Vegas. And here's just one of the nice, big, succulent leaves. Now you could pick these leaves and add them to your salad. I like to just eat them straight up. Nice texture. Now, due to the heat, they're not quite as sweet, or maybe that's because she doesn't use rock dust, but she does use kelp to add the trace minerals back in the soil. Not quite as sweet as some of the ones that I've tasted out of my California garden. And I have found that leafy greens, particularly in the summertime with all the heat, they tend to get a little bit more bitter. But nonetheless, I'm going to be growing some Malabar spinach next year, and I want to encourage you guys to do that as well in the desert or even wherever you live. The last thing I'm going to show you guys today in Leslie's front yard is this tree. Now, besides an almond tree she also has this tree. And between almonds and this tree nut, I'd be preferring to grow these guys here in Las Vegas. And would encourage you guys, especially if you guys are a prepper, to grow something like this or a nut crop at your residence. Why? It's very simple. You know, you can grow fruit trees and they're producing and putting out food for you in the summer. And, you know, if you dehydrate it or using other preservation methods such as canning, you can preserve that into the winter. But another great thing to use in the winter are these guys, are the nuts. These are pistachio nuts that are not quite ripe, but when you grow pistachio nuts, you're going to harvest them, and then they're going to be preserved naturally by the sun, and then you'll have a nice concentrated source of calories and also nutrition for the winter time. You know, man cannot survive on just vegetable alone. You should also eat some nuts, a handful of nuts every day, in my opinion, for optimal health. So if you guys thought her front yard was pretty impressive with all the fruit trees and tomato plants and other crops she's growing, wait till you guys see her secret garden in the backyard. She's even growing more things, growing vertically, and actually even has new plant starts coming up because, once again, in the desert in Las Vegas, you have two growing seasons. Well, in the summertime anyways. You have the early summer and the late summer, and now that the weather's gotten so hot and it probably fried some of you guys' plants like zucchinis, now you can start your seeds and crops, you know, for like things like melons and squashes now, and plant them in the garden for another late crop. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend planting peppers or tomatoes at this late point unless you're starting from a plant itself. Anyways, let's go ahead and head to the back and show you guys what's growing on. One of the first things you'll notice when you enter Leslie's backyard test garden is this big, huge pile. Now, this big, huge pile is the Tomato Lady soil that she uses everywhere in her garden, and this is one of the reasons why she's getting amazing results here in the desert. She has personally formulated this to work really well in this desert climate, and this is probably the best soil in Las Vegas to be growing in. Now, I do need to repent on one of my previous videos where actually I set up my garden using some stuff out of Home Depot, and after a year of growing, I've seen the error in my ways, and now next time I get soil, I'm going to be getting the Tomato Lady soil. So if you live anywhere in Las Vegas, don't get the Home Depot crap, people. Get this stuff right here. You could get it at various places in the valley, but if you call her directly, you guys are going to get the lowest price and the cash discounted price. So maybe at the end of this video, we'll even get to talk to Leslie herself to share some of her secrets of growing in the desert for you. Aside from the soil that you're growing in, and actually that might be more important than this one, or actually this might be more important than that one, is this guy. What we're looking at is a irrigation control box with the irrigation control. So besides the soil where you want to put your money in, you also want to put your money into a good irrigation system in the desert. You know, overwatering or underwatering is probably the #1 reason why your plants actually don't make it, or why you're purposely killing them, because you're overwatering or underwatering. Many people don't understand that, you know, the plants need water like we need water, and if we get too much water, we could actually choke, and if we get too little water, we'll become dehydrated and actually may have some illnesses because of dehydration. If you're actually interested in learning more about how dehydration causes illnesses in people, I can tell you what book to get. Actually, that's called The Body's Many Cries for Water. And I don't know the book that corresponds with the plant's water's needs and what it does. I can tell you it probably makes brown leaves and it doesn't fruit well, it doesn't grow well, things like that. So watering is very important. Now, I can tell you what Leslie does here. At this present time, she's watering 9 times a day, at 6, 7, 8, at noon, 1, 2, and at 6, 7, 8. All for predetermined lengths of time that are going to do well for her. And keep in mind, at this point in time, her plants are in full production. They're nice and large, and they're going to need more water now than they needed earlier in the year when they were little small babies. Now, how will you know how much water your plants need? Well, I don't know. I'm not the expert on what your garden needs. You guys need to learn how to do it. It's really simple. Maybe I'll have a future episode. What you're going to do is there's many tools that'll help you do this. The simplest of which is the standard bamboo barbecue skewers, and you want to get those at like a Walmart in the barbecue section. They're actually fairly long. You're going to stick them in the soil and pull them out. The bamboo will absorb some water. You can put it up to your cheek to see if it's wet or not. And if your soil is moist, you don't need to water. If your soil is dry, then you need to have another watering cycle. So what you're going to do is basically take a full day, stay at home, and check your soil every hour after you water it, maybe in the morning for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes. And it depends. That also depends on your irrigation system you have and how much the flow rate is and how much your water pressure is. So there's many different variables. The good thing is, if you live in the Las Vegas area, you want to call Leslie Doyle. She has an irrigation expert that works with her that can set you up on the right watering schedule that you need so you can have optimal growth. The next area I want to show you guys is this little area here. It's underneath a patio and a shade cloth, and that's because these are the baby starts. And they're all in little containers growing, and she's got things like cabbage and turnips and broccoli, all kinds of things. These are getting planted out now for the fall garden. So, that's what you guys want to always focus on, is the next season. Don't get too concerned about what's growing now, but start your plants and seeds now. Even in the middle of the summer when we had 114-degree days, you can do it. Just like Leslie does to have a successful garden. Anyways, next what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the fruit trees. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover just 2 of the over a dozen fruit trees she has growing in her backyard. And the one right here is probably the one that I would recommend you guys to grow if you're only going to grow 1 fruit tree in your backyard or front yard in Las Vegas. And this is the pomegranate tree, and you can see here it's just filled to the brim with pomegranates. The reason why I'd recommend you guys grow this is because, number one, it's really easy. It really is adapted to this kind of climate, so you're not going to be fighting it. It's a pretty low maintenance, doesn't get a whole lot of bugs or anything like that. And number 3, grows prolifically. I mean, this thing is like 10 feet by like 8 feet. I don't know if it's like one tree or a big giant bush. And literally there's just hundreds and hundreds of pomegranates. And the final reason why pomegranates are good to grow is because it's very high in antioxidants, which can be very beneficial for your health. Next, let's talk about that next tree, and it's right behind me. You can see it's actually quite huge. And let's go up on it and show you guys what the fruit, or actually nut, that's growing on that tree. Now we're walking up to that almond tree, and this thing is just loaded up with all kinds of little fruits, which are actually contain the nut inside. So I want to show you guys today and teach you guys about almonds. So almonds grow on the tree. They look like a little small apricot, but there's no edible flesh inside, well, that humans could eat. Maybe microbes eat it in your compost pile, or maybe some other insects or bugs or something like that. But that's not really edible to us. What is edible is the seed. So much like an apricot, if you crack open the hard pit of an apricot, there's a little seed in there that you can eat, and the seed is actually high in B17 or aleotrol, which is purported to be helpful for things against things like cancer. And the almond here has that fruit, and these fruits are still green. I mean, these are green almonds. In some cuisines or some cultures, they actually use the green almonds. I'm not so interested in them at that state. I like it when they're fully ripe. So let's go ahead and show you guys a fully ripe one. And here it is. When the almonds are ripe, they'll sure as heck let you know. They'll actually open up on the tree and reveal themselves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually grab the little almond fruit and show you guys more about it. All right, so I just picked a little almond, and here it is. This is the little fruit thing itself. That's just like the husk. And this is the non-edible part. If this was an apricot, this would be the flesh that we'd eat. You open it up to reveal the nut inside that I've already taken out. So this is the in-shell almond, and if you don't have an almond tree, then I would encourage you guys to purchase your almonds in the shell. Number one reason why is that they're going to be less treated. Number two is that they're going to stay fresher longer. This can be very important if you're into prepping. You know, nuts that are out of the shell don't tend to last as long, but if they're in the shell, they're going to last much, much longer. But once you got them in the shell, depending on, sometimes the shell is really hard if they're picked a little bit too green. This one's completely ripe, and when they're ripe, they actually almost split on you. I don't know if you guys could see that seam on there. You can almost get in there with your fingers and crack it open to reveal the little nut inside. And oh, there it is, and there it went. These buggers are slippery, actually. Just kidding. But anyways, the reason why you want to start growing your own almonds and actually your other foods is because now the government is messing with your guys' food. Did you know that even quote-unquote raw almonds from the bulk bins or labeled in the store raw, if they're from California, they have to be mandatory treated before you get to eat them. They're treated with chemicals or steam pasteurization to kill all the harmful bacteria that are on the almonds, or potentially harmful bacteria on the almonds. And you know, just like almonds, other foods in the future will start to be treated before we get to eat them. This is going to reduce the nutrition in the food, but also may cause us to ingest things that maybe aren't so healthy, like the chemical treatment of the almonds before you're eating them. Yet another great reason to start growing your food, because now you know what's in the soil, you know what you're spraying on them, and you're going to get the freshest, highest quality, and actually best tasting food ever. Let me go ahead and try this almond. Now that's a real almond. It's not completely dry. When they're completely dry, they lose all sense of that bitterness. But actually, I like that bitterness flavor. Tastes quite nice, more like a Spanish almond. That being said, if you do get imported almonds, so almonds from Spain or Italy, they're actually not treated before selling them to you. Only the ones from California, and as you know, California produces most of the almond crop here in the USA. Leslie has a variety of different beds actually in her backyard. She has mostly the concrete block beds, but in addition now she has these plastic beds. And one of the things nice about these plastic beds is that they are very easy to assemble, get set up so that you can start growing today in your garden. And if you guys are one of the viewers that have been watching my videos for a while and are not yet growing and live in Las Vegas, then what you need to do is you need to get on the phone and call Leslie. She'll actually get these set up, get the soil put in, and even install your irrigation to get you growing today without even lifting a finger in the garden. So that's if you have more money than time. But if you have more time than money, then she'll actually sell you the kit so that you could actually build it yourself. And once again, you can buy the soil from her at definitely the lowest price here in the Las Vegas Valley. So now what we're looking at is basically a small little raised bed. This is just 1 foot by 2 foot. So even if you have a patio in the middle of New York City, if you have a 1 foot by 2 foot area, build a small little raised bed filled with some soil, and you could grow 4 watermelons. And in this little bed here, there's 4 watermelon plants called Oh So Sweet. And these are just planted really recently, and they're growing up the trellis. And this is a really easy trellis to make also. This is made out of standard plastic construction fencing. So normally it comes in that bright, obnoxious orange color, but also you can get it in this, green color, and it works perfectly for growing things vertically, such as beans, and as we can see here, even the watermelons. Just saw the watermelon being grown up the trellis. Now that's one way you could grow watermelon, but if you have a lot of space, you might as well do what Leslie is doing here and just plant the watermelons in the ground and let them sprawl out. Now these are sprawling into her walkways, but that's all right because she made her walkways extra wide to provide some space for plants to grow into them. And once again, this is the Oh So Sweet watermelon. We got 2 nice examples right here. And besides being oh so sweet, they're oh so large. And that's what my ex-girlfriend used to say about me too. But anyways, these watermelons could grow up to be in like 20 pounds, but in Leslie's garden, because of the soil and because of the kelp and minerals she's adding, they could get up to 40. So that's, once again, I want to stress the importance of you guys of having good soil and adding the trace minerals, whether you're using kelp or rock dust or something else, to get the minerals back in the soil, because when the soil has what it needs, the plants are going to get what it needs, and they're going to grow a lot larger. Hey, maybe that's why I'm so big. Now I have yet another plant to show you guys in Leslie's amazing garden. Now, one of the things I really like about Leslie is that she constantly runs tests for Organic Gardening Magazine and Rodale to find out what is growing well in the desert here. So she publishes her results in actually those magazines, and actually here's one that she tested a few years ago, and she found out that it really does well in the desert. This one actually is called Gretel eggplant, and so they actually, yes, have an Hansel and Gretel eggplant. And the reason why I like this eggplant, check it out right below. If you just undo some of the leaves here, you can see this thing is loaded with nice size little eggplants. And if you take a couple of these, put them in your pocket, and your wife walks up to you, and she might say something like, "Is that an eggplant in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?" And a matter of fact, it would be an eggplant in your pocket. But nonetheless, the reason why I like this eggplant is because it produces a lot of little small eggplants. So whether you're growing eggplants, peppers, or tomatoes, I always encourage you guys for the biggest yields or most quantity yields that's edible during a long period of time to grow the smallest fruit as possible. In addition, it's usually easier to manage plants that grow smaller fruit because they're going to yield longer. This is Leslie's main growing area, and you can see there's a multitude of raised beds. I mean, there's a 10 by 13 foot raised tomato bed behind me here with 67 plants. There's actually a chicken coop where she has her own chickens that she feeds some of the food scraps to in the waste that produce eggs for her. She has cucumbers growing, things growing up, string on the trellis over there, some beans. She has all different areas, and most of these areas have edible plants growing. So what we're going to do next is actually we're going to show you her namesake. She is called the Tomato Lady, and we're going to show you some of the tomatoes she's growing this year, how she's doing it, and how she's getting amazing results in the desert. Now we're doing a close-up on her tomato bed, and unlike most people in the rest of the country, she's actually not trellising her tomatoes, and that's actually very important here in Las Vegas, where it's actually really hot. You want to have enough foliage or the leaves actually shading out all the tomatoes, because the tomatoes will get burned if they're not shaded out. So that's another thing she's doing. She's got these guys, the shade cloth, all over the garden, just spread over the top, actually doubled over to protect some of the tomatoes from the scald. I mean, this will happen to tomatoes and peppers if you don't protect them or you don't have enough leaves covering them. And so growing up a trellis, not a good idea in Las Vegas. As you saw earlier, also the other thing she does is she uses the mylar, reflective mylar on the ground. So the mylar increases the transpiration of the crops to pull more water up into its plants to keep it cool, but also at the same time bringing in more nutrition into the plants as well. So what we're going to do now is actually we're going to show you the specific varieties she grows in the desert successfully. There's certain varieties that you actually don't want to grow in the desert, and the ones here are the ones that are time proven, except for one new test variety that she's growing this year, which is another really good idea for you guys to do. Every year grow the crops that you know are going to do well in your specific environment. So if you haven't been growing yet, ask other gardeners or farmers in your area, ask them what specific varieties grow best in your area, and then grow those, and then pick a few wild cards or a few new varieties to try to see if they grow well. Maybe they'll grow great, maybe they won't, but at least you have all the crops that you know are going to do well in your area. So in the Las Vegas area, the crops that grow well, number one, Hawaiian Tropic. Actually, this year I'm growing Hawaiian Tropic that I got from Leslie herself. They're nice and large, and actually they're really oh so sweet, and they're still putting on fruit even in this hot weather. Next, let's go around this whole bed and share some other varieties with you. Another tomato variety that I want to share with you guys today is actually the Juliette tomato, and this is probably Leslie's favorite tomato in the whole wide world, and actually does quite well here. Let me go ahead and pick one here for you guys. Here it is. It's a nice little red Roma style tomato. She says the flavor is absolutely incredible, and I'm going to actually try it and let you guys know what I think. Wow, for a Roma tomato, it's actually quite sweet, quite delicious, and if it grows well in Vegas, I'm all in. So the last tomato I want to share with you guys today is called the Indigo Rose tomato, and actually this is a tomato that I'm growing this year. Actually, I got one on a wild rootstock and a regular rootstock as well. And but looks like her plants are actually far out producing mine, but I think she might have started a little bit earlier. This thing is just loaded up with tomatoes, and looks like it's actually yielding more tomatoes per piece, not maybe per poundage, than the other varieties that I just showed you guys. And the thing I like about the Indigo Rose, that actually has a nice purple color. When they're unripe, they're actually kind of this purplish, and then they start turning red from the bottom up. And I don't know if I could see any ripe ones in here, but I had one earlier, and it's actually quite delicious. So those are the top 3 tomatoes that I was sharing with you today to grow in Vegas, or if you live in a desert climate, they're going to do quite well in the heat if you grow them properly. So this is probably my favorite edible leafy green in Leslie's whole backyard, and check it out, it's totally beautiful. You saw my episode from about a week ago or so. You'll know what this stuff is. All right, yell it out loud right now as you're watching this video. I didn't hear you. It's called purslane. Purslane's an amazing leafy green, and with her soil and the nutrients she's doing, looks nice, lush, and full. Looks like it grows well here in Las Vegas. Quite good too. You could use this stuff in salads, add it to sandwiches, blend it up in the blender. Has a little bit of a mucilaginous taste, but really high in omega-3 fatty acids. Based on my research, most Americans eat a diet too rich in omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. So eat more purslane to knock your balance into the better ratio of higher omega-3s and less omega-6s. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, omega-6s are inflammatory. I asked Leslie why she's growing it, and she says, I'm growing it for my chickens. They love this stuff. And I told her, hey, maybe you should eat it too. It's definitely good for you. The other reason why I like that she's growing it like this in this fashion is because this can give you a living ground cover or a living mulch. I want to encourage you guys to grow edible living mulches. Instead of mulching with, tree bark or leaves or grass, grow something that's going to cover the ground that's also going to be edible. Once again, because there's so much green area here, the sun's not able to hit the ground to evaporate the moisture, but what the sun is hitting is the leaves so that this plant could grow like a weed that it is and produce more food for you or minimally your chickens to eat. So next, we got a special treat for you. We're actually going to talk to Leslie herself, and she's going to share 3 tips with you on how you can successfully grow in the Las Vegas desert, or actually any desert in the world. Now we're here with Leslie Doyle herself, the gardener extraordinaire here in the desert. Now, Leslie has been gardening for 60 years of her life, and actually she didn't even look that old, so I don't know how that's possible. But she has been successfully gardening for 15 years here in the desert, and I mean, her garden that you guys just saw really shows it. And I'm in admiration, and every time I come here, I always learn one thing new. And if you could learn one thing new in life every day, in my book, you're a success. So I'm a success today, thanks to Leslie.
Only one thing?
You set the rules easy. You set the hurdle small so that you could easily learn one thing a day, and then you're a success. Because everybody should be a success every day and not a failure. So I want to set you guys up for success and not failure in life and also in gardening. So anyways, let's ask Leslie, what are the 3 top things to do in the desert to have a successful garden?
You have to have full sun, good soil, and ample water. You need the same things that you need in New Jersey. It's true.
Wow, that was really, things are so simple, but we try to make them so complex. We want to try to shade our plants. Oh, it's too hot in the desert. We need shade. Hey, we're sitting under an awning here, and it's almost 100 degrees outside, so we're staying a little bit cool. But, so people think, oh, I need to shade my plants up, but that's not exactly true, right, Leslie?
Oh, no. Plants are not people. Plants need full sun. They need full sun so they can sweat like we're sweating right now.
Yeah.
But the sweat that they do is like at the ground temperature, the water temperature, and that makes the whole temperature around the plants a microclimate. And in the case of the desert, it makes it 75 degrees. And in the case of tomatoes in the desert, that's a perfect temperature for tomato set, isn't it?
Wow, and that is one of the reasons why she'll be harvesting 100 pounds of tomatoes a day, and pretty soon several hundred pounds of tomatoes a day, right?
That's right. We harvest 100 pounds a day off of 17 plants. Our flush is just coming in a couple of weeks when all of our plants are producing, like we hope, we'll be doing 600 or 700 pounds a day, and we'll need help.
Now, how long are you going to be harvesting those for? That's not going to last for the whole season, is it? You're going to run out of tomatoes because they're not still setting because it's too hot.
Oh, no, they're setting just fine. They're embracing right now, as a matter of fact, because we choose the right varieties and we treat them well. No, they'll continue to produce until the frost kills them. They'll slow down a little bit. They'll be tired and they'll take a little bit of a break, but they'll still produce a few tomatoes. And then in the fall, when it cools off, we'll get, it'll be that big problem again. Tomatoes.
So what do you do with all your tomatoes, Leslie?
Oh, we sell them at the farmer's market. We give them to John, to the neighbors. We pass them out to the poor at certain events. Feed them to the chickens. We don't ever have to throw a tomato away.
Yeah, tomato is a terrible thing to waste, much like your brain on drugs. Seriously. Leslie, I know you do a lot of work with organic gardening. Actually, I want to share some with my viewers right now. You were the technical reviewer on this book, The Organic Gardener's Handbook to Natural Pest and Disease Control.
One of them. There were 3 other PhDs besides me.
Oh, are you're a PhD?
No.
You're not a PhD?
No, I'm a gardener. That's a little bit better.
I'm a gardener too. I'm not a PhD. But you know, I think the best way to learn is to learn by doing and not necessarily go to college.
We keep the PhDs in line.
That's it. But yeah, so she was a technical reviewer of this book, and you know, I get a lot of questions all the time about, John, what do I do about this pest or that disease? Well, hey, buy the book, people. This is the Bible that you need to know all the answers for organic gardening and how to treat your plants without use of chemicals. So also, Leslie works for Organic Gardening Magazine as a writer and also Organic Test Gardening in the Desert. And so that's why, you know, a lot of the plant that she's growing here are actually test varieties that will actually have an article about in the Organic Gardening Magazine. But aside from those resources, probably the most valuable one that she could offer to you guys, especially if you live in the desert, are her books. I personally own both of these books, and they are worth their weight in paper. I mean, there are no other 2 books that you'll find that has all the information you specifically need to know to grow in the desert without all the fluff.
Worth their weight in gold.
Gold? I thought it was paper.
Gold. Diamonds, girls, diamonds.
So Leslie, tell us about your books and why you came up with them and how long they took to write and all that good stuff.
Well, the first book I wrote is out of print, but this is the second, and this is specific directions on how to grow desert tomatoes in the desert, and which is done differently here. If you grow them this way, you'll have the same results I do. See those tomatoes? That's beautiful. Hawaiian tropics.
600 pounds a day in the height of the season.
Yeah, yeah. And then this here is a planting guide that is developed from how I garden here in the desert, specifically when I put what plants in the ground. And I can harvest food every day of the year, following my guide, which I wrote the book and then printed this up and put it in it so you can do the same thing. And right now a lot of people are using this in the desert. Some people are using it as a handbook for teaching gardening here. There's no fluff in it, no filler pages of things that aren't necessary, and it's like $13. I mean, that's cheap.
So this would be good for people in the Las Vegas or the desert Southwest, right? Yep. Arizona, New Mexico, yep. Nevada here, South Nevada.
Yep.
Or even in other countries in the desert, right?
Yeah, any place where it's hot and dry. Desert in Colorado, New Mexico, Texas. Got a lot of customers in Texas.
So Leslie, if somebody wants to get a hold of you to purchase your books, how would they do that?
You can phone me, area code 702-490-5217. That will ring here at the Sweet Tomato Test Garden. You can send me an email to tomatotomato@cox.net. Simple enough. There's no E at the end of tomato. And I'll write you back. And if you want to buy my books, this one's 10, the other one's 13. I'll send you a PayPal invoice. Just tell me, and you'll get the invoice. And when you pay it, I'll mail you the book.
Wow, Leslie, that's great. So I guess the last thing I want to mention is that you just started a brand new YouTube channel to share all your desert gardening secrets with the world.
Yes, and it's going to be very difficult for you to find me on YouTube because John's videos of me come up first. So if you send me an email to Tomato, I'll send you the link. Hopefully you can find me as Leslie Doyle, Sweet Tomato Test Garden on YouTube. Might have to type in all those words.
If you just type in Leslie Doyle, hers will be the second video that comes up, or the second result.
And there's also a bull rider named Leslie Doyle, so have a good time. He enjoyed his time visiting with me today, and I enjoyed having him here too. We're just finishing up Tomato Fest in Las Vegas here at the Sweet Tomato Test Garden, and it's been a hoot. I wish you could have been here.
Should have been here. Oh, join her email list. Actually, email her and get on her email list if you live in the Las Vegas area or even in any desert climate. She has a lot of good information on growing in the desert, and next time she has an event here, you definitely want to come out. It's an amazing place to visit, and there's always something to learn. I've had a great time, and hopefully you guys did too, and you guys could now be harvesting 600 pounds of tomatoes a day if you do it like Leslie does. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time.
And I'm Leslie Doyle at the Sweet Tomato Test Garden. Nice to see you.
We'll see you next time, and keep on growing.
Bye.
All right, we're here with Leslie, the gardener extraordinaire in Las Vegas. Oh, excuse me. That's going to be the outtake,
He's
actually.
cute, girls. He's cute. Don't let him get away.
Thank you. That's going in.
He keeps saying that.
It is going. This is in. Mark my words.